The impeachment battle not taking the weekend off. President Trump firing off a series of angry tweets attacking both the Democrats and a prominent member of his own party. Matt Dowd is standing by with analysis, but we're going to begin our coverage here with ABC's David Wright, who's right there at the White House. David, good morning to you.
Good morning, Dan. As another busy week in the impeachment inquiry begins, the president is sending a warning to any Republicans who might be tempted to break ranks. This weekend, he has sought to make an example of Mitt Romney, who dared to criticize his conduct.
What's really unfolding here is something that has Trump visibly shaken. The word that strikes fear into him is impeachment. And it's not just a buzzword being tossed around by Democrats looking for headlines. Federal courts are now confirming through their rulings that Trump has crossed the line by breaking the law and abusing his power. A recent judge's decision highlighted that he blocked federal clean energy grants to states that didn't support him purely as a way to punish them. Moreover, the Senate has moved forward with a war powers resolution aimed at curbing his unauthorized military actions in Venezuela, with 5 Republicans joining Democrats in support. There's even an impeachment resolution sitting in the House, complete with 7 articles citing high crimes and misdemeanors. In a private conversation with House Republicans, Trump acknowledged the reality of his situation by admitting, "If we do not win the midterms, I will get impeached." He clearly understands the pressure is mounting. The courts are building a strong case against him, and right now, Republican control of Congress is the only thing standing between him and the possibility of removal from office. Now, let's get back to the core of the impeachment discussion. Since Trump began his second term, impeachment has been a constant topic. But there's an important distinction between political rhetoric and legal reality. Politicians may call for impeachment simply because they oppose Trump's policies, but courts are now confirming real legal violations. That's what makes this moment different. Federal judges are issuing written opinions that clearly document Trump's abuses of power, creating a solid legal record. Supporters of impeachment can point to this evidence and argue that this isn't about politics. It's about upholding the Constitution. These court rulings act as signposts, establishing facts and confirming what Trump's defenders have tried to dismiss for years. The evidence shows he is willing to cross legal boundaries to punish opponents and expand his authority. Take the Clean Energy Grants ruling, for example. On January 13th, a South District Court found that Trump illegally blocked federal grants to states that leaned Democratic. The judge determined that his administration targeted those states specifically because they did not support him in the 2024 election. Consider the implications of that finding. The President of the United States used federal funds as a weapon to retaliate against states for how their citizens voted. This goes beyond policy disputes or hardball politics. It amounts to punishing Americans for exercising their constitutional right to vote. The judge ruled that this conduct violated both constitutional principles and federal grant laws. This is exactly the type of behavior the framers of the Constitution had in mind when they included the impeachment power. Using the presidency to reward allies and punish opponents based on political loyalty is a textbook abuse of power. And when we look at Trump's broader situation, it's clear that the impeachment case forming against him isn't about a single incident. It's a pattern of behavior spanning his entire second term. Courts are documenting abuses, Congress is pushing back on war powers, and legal experts are warning of a potential constitutional crisis. On top of that, an impeachment resolution containing 7 articles is already sitting in the House, waiting to be addressed. Understanding the full picture requires breaking this down piece by piece. House Resolution 3533, introduced in April 2025, outlines 7 grounds for Trump's removal from office. The first article accuses him of obstruction of justice, alleging he used the Justice Department to protect himself while targeting political adversaries. The second article cites violations of congressional budget authority, reinforced by the Clean Energy Grants ruling. The third article addresses abuse of trade powers and international aggression, including tariffs and military actions in Venezuela. The fourth article focuses on violations of First Amendment rights. The fifth article alleges the creation of an unlawful office. The sixth article raises claims of bribery and corruption. The seventh article argues that Trump's conduct amounts to tyranny and an assault on constitutional government itself. So far, the House has not held a full vote on the resolution. With Republicans in control, it's unlikely they would impeach their own president. Still, the resolution remains active. The legal framework is in place, and the arguments are fully laid out. What's missing is the political momentum and the numbers in Congress. If Democrats win control of the House in the November 2026 midterms, or if enough Republicans break ranks, this resolution provides a ready-made roadmap for impeachment. Every new court ruling that documents Trump's misconduct adds weight to that case. The Clean Energy Grants decision directly supports the article on congressional authority, while the situation in Venezuela has triggered bipartisan concern. In early January, Trump launched a major military operation against Venezuela, capturing President Nicolas Maduro and his wife and removing them from the country. He then announced that the United States would oversee Venezuela until a new government was installed. Critically, he took these actions without congressional approval, without a declaration of war, and without following the consultation requirements of the War Powers Resolution. Unsurprisingly, this sparked outrage in Congress. The Senate later voted 52-47 to advance a War Powers Resolution aimed at preventing further military action in Venezuela. 5 Republicans joined Democrats, a rare and significant rebuke of a sitting president. Although the resolution ultimately failed, the close vote revealed serious unease, even among Trump's allies. Some Republican senators openly stated that his actions crossed constitutional boundaries. Many Democrats now argue that the Venezuela operation itself may be grounds for impeachment. Invading a foreign country, detaining its leader, and asserting control without congressional authorization fits their definition of international aggression and an extreme abuse of presidential power. Adding to this is Trump's administration openly defying court orders. In a separate case involving Venezuelan immigrants, the administration continued deportations even after a federal judge ordered them to stop. Flights proceeded, and detainees were held in harsh conditions abroad, despite clear judicial rulings. This isn't a gray legal area. It's the executive branch blatantly refusing to comply with the courts.
In the course of this, I think the problem Donald Trump has with this is if the House impeaches, it goes to the Senate. And Mitt Romney literally is a juror in the Senate to decide his fate. And my thought is always, you don't attack the jurors in such a way they're going to make the decision on your case.
Let's talk about Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. We saw him speaking a little bit in David Wright's piece there. He came out yesterday and essentially said.
And speaking of the administration, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo recently weighed in, calling the situation a constitutional crisis. He didn't sugarcoat it. He pointed out that an administration ignoring a judge's decision represents one of the strongest grounds for impeachment because it undermines the very foundation of judicial authority. This highlights how critical it is for the executive branch to respect the system as a whole. Respecting court orders is a core requirement of the rule of law. The president does not have the luxury of choosing which court orders to follow. If a president could simply ignore judges whenever it suited him, the courts would lose their purpose and the Constitution itself would begin to lose its meaning. We would no longer be a nation governed by laws. Instead, we would descend into a system where one person believes he can do anything, disregarding anyone who attempts to hold him accountable, and that is tyranny. The framers of the Constitution anticipated this very danger. They understood that a president might try to consolidate power like a king. That's why they gave Congress the authority to remove a president who steps outside constitutional bounds. Trump's disregard for court orders is a stark reminder of why that power exists. Now, let's connect this to the recent court ruling involving clean energy grants, which carries serious implications for impeachment. Typically, courts avoid evaluating a president's motives and instead focus on whether an action is legal. But in this case, the judge explicitly found that Trump's administration targeted Democratic-leaning states based on their voting patterns. That finding is crucial because it establishes intent. It shows Trump used federal authority for political retaliation, exactly the kind of conduct impeachment is meant to address. This ruling doesn't merely suggest that the policy was flawed. It clearly states that the motivation behind it was corrupt. The intent was to punish political opponents. That is the textbook definition of abuse of power. Trump himself appears to understand the seriousness of the situation. During a meeting with House Republicans on January 6, 2026, he warned that failing to win the midterms could result in his impeachment. He wasn't exaggerating or being paranoid. He was being realistic. Articles of impeachment have already been filed, court rulings support claims of abuse, and several Republican senators have begun distancing themselves from him, particularly on issues involving war powers. At the moment, the only thing shielding Trump from impeachment is the Republican majority in the House. If Democrats gain control in November, the impeachment process could begin almost immediately. The resolution is already written, the evidence is substantial, and the case has been laid out. Trump knows this. That's why he's pressing Republicans so hard about the midterm elections. These races aren't just about individual seats. They're about his political survival. The possibility of a third impeachment is no longer hypothetical. The groundwork is being laid, and the political climate for impeachment has never been more favorable during his second term. So let's break down how impeachment would actually work and what obstacles remain. The House of Representatives is the only body that can impeach a president. Impeachment requires a simple majority vote, 218 members if all are present. If the House votes to impeach, the case moves to the Senate, where a two-thirds vote, or 67 senators, is required to convict and remove the president from office. That threshold is difficult to meet. Even if Democrats win the House and vote to impeach, conviction would require significant Republican support. Trump was impeached twice during his first term and acquitted both times because Senate Republicans largely stayed loyal to him. The key question now is whether anything has changed. With mounting abuses and a growing stack of court rulings, are some Republican senators beginning to reconsider? This is where the court decisions play a major role. One of the biggest challenges with impeachment is that it's often dismissed as purely political. Supporters of the president frequently argue it's just a partisan attack. But when federal judges, some appointed by Republicans, issue rulings stating that the president broke the law and violated constitutional principles, that changes the narrative entirely. At that point, it's no longer just Democrats making accusations. It's the judiciary, an independent branch of government, formally stating that Trump crossed legal lines. Rulings related to clean energy grants, defiance of court orders, fraud allegations, and document cases all contribute to a growing legal record. Those pushing for impeachment can point to this evidence and argue that the case is grounded in law, not politics. Now let's return to Venezuela, which has significantly intensified impeachment pressure. The operation to capture President Nicolas Maduro raised serious constitutional questions. Can a president invade another country, detain its leader, and plan for its governance without congressional approval? That's precisely what the War Powers Resolution was designed to prevent. Notably, 5 Republican senators supported a resolution to restrict Trump's actions in Venezuela. This wasn't about party loyalty. It reflected genuine concern. Some Republicans believe deeply in congressional war powers and argue that no president, regardless of party, should commit the nation to military action without proper authorization. Looking ahead, the political landscape leading into November will be decisive. If Republicans retain control of the House, impeachment efforts will likely stall. But if Democrats win, even narrowly, the chances of impeachment rise sharply. The resolutions are already drafted. The party base is demanding action, and Democratic leadership would face enormous pressure to proceed. The court rulings provide a strong legal foundation to argue that impeachment wouldn't be about relitigating the 2024 election, but about holding a sitting president accountable for clear abuses of power. Trump's behavior going forward also matters. So far, he has shown no signs of restraint. He lashes out at judges, ignores rulings, attacks lawmakers who oppose him, and threatens retaliation. Instead of moderating his conduct, he doubles down. If this pattern continues, the case for impeachment will only grow stronger. Each act of defiance adds to the evidence that he believes himself to be above the law. It's also worth considering how the Senate might respond if the House impeaches Trump again. In past trials, Republican senators acknowledged misconduct but argued that removal wasn't warranted. They claimed voters should decide his fate. But after Venezuela, documented retaliation against states, and open defiance of courts, will they still feel the same? Some senators remain firmly aligned with Trump. Others may be looking for an exit, worried about their political futures, or genuinely alarmed by the damage being done to constitutional governance. It wouldn't take many defections to change the entire dynamic, even if conviction remains uncertain. And impeachment discussions aren't happening in isolation. They're unfolding alongside mass immigration protests, global condemnation of U.S. actions in Venezuela, internal Justice Department turmoil, renewed scrutiny of the Epstein files, and testimony from former allies like Mark Meadows that contradict Trump's defenses. Each issue compounds the others, increasing the overall pressure. Taken together, Trump is facing intense scrutiny from every direction. The question of whether he can complete his second term is no longer settled. The bottom line is this: Trump is closer to impeachment now than at any point in his second term. Federal courts are plainly documenting abuses of power. An impeachment resolution with 7 articles is already sitting in the House. The Senate is showing bipartisan concern over Venezuela. Legal experts are warning of constitutional danger, and the 2026 midterms loom large. This isn't just about control of Congress. It's about the future of Trump's presidency. He knows it. He's admitted as much. If Republicans lose ground, impeachment becomes a real and immediate possibility. And even if Senate conviction remains unlikely, a trial would put every abuse, every court ruling, and every act of defiance on full public display. As November approaches, the road to impeachment has never been clearer. Trump understands it, and the stakes could not be higher. If you want to stay updated on the growing impeachment pressure, the legal rulings shaping it, and what it all means politically, subscribing to this channel is a great way to stay informed. I'll continue breaking down the legal and constitutional issues and bringing you trustworthy updates as they unfold. Even when these developments are dismissed as partisan attacks, staying informed matters. So hit the like button, share this with someone who wants clarity, and join the Pump Politics community, because understanding the truth matters. I'll see you in the next update.